What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined always by my main man, Jacob Funturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. We come to you live once again from Indianapolis at the 2026 NFL Combine. Talk to prospects today for the first time with plenty to take away. We're diving into our biggest takeaways from day one here of interviews, plus a quarterback market that is starting out in an absolutely ridiculous fashion. We'll dive into that. Some wide receiver news for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and something we missed yesterday, talking about Omar Khan. It's a beautiful one here in good old Indianapolis. Day two. How you feeling, my friend? What were your takeaways for today? What were we feeling today?
I'm feeling tall, and this is, this is not a time for me as someone, as an observer, to maybe feel good, but I won't say who, but I feel great because I know that I am taller than at least one NFL coach. And it might not mean much to you at home, but it means the world to me. So I'm feeling good. Tons of takeaways, though, from today. I mean,
Yes.
Like you said, first day that we were talking to any prospects, getting our first impressions of these players, has me even more jazzed than I think yesterday was talking to Omar Khan. So I'm excited to kind of dive into it a little bit more here with you.
Yeah, me too. I think that you get some prospects for the first time. You kind of get your feet wet here, and you look at it and just go, I kind of get my first vibe, my first sense of where the Pittsburgh Steelers are compared to where I thought that they were. Because I think that's the biggest thing here is that you come to the NFL Combine with preconceived notions and expectations of what you expect this team to do. And then you start talking to players and talking to people and realize very quickly that some things line up and some things do not line up. And you get the first taste of that today here in Indy. We talked to defensive linemen and linebackers. We'll kick it off there. What's your takeaway, your biggest takeaway from day one here, speaking with the defensive front seven at the NFL Combine?
Something I just should have known, but just was completely unaware of before talking to him today. But chatted with Caden McDonald out of Ohio State, and there is already a connection there between him and, of course, Cam Hayward. Their families know one another. Of course, they are both products of Ohio State. Maybe, just maybe, that first big takeaway I have is the Pittsburgh Steelers, who also did have an official formal meeting with Caden McDonald, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers might have found somebody who could be an ideal replacement possibility for Cam Hayward, not necessarily in 2026 directly, but a long-term successor to their defensive captain. And he was incredibly impressive, incredibly poised and polished up at the podium today. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers might be very interested, and it might be annoying for some people to hear that they are thinking defensive line in the first round in back-to-back years, but you win in the trenches, and Caden McDonald certainly screams a player who can win in the trenches.
I mean, certainly. And I think him talking about Cam Hayward and being able to replicate that and having that same attitude is awesome. I also think that the Steelers going trenches is never a bad thing. Like, you can never have a good enough defensive line. You know what I'm saying? You can never. I'll toss a name out there that told me he wants to be a first rounder, expects to be a first rounder. I don't think he is going to be a first rounder, but we'll see. Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech.
Okay.
A guy who, true nose tackle, who wants to make nose tackle a first round pick once again. I'm full of support there. Okay. Full of support. I'll tell you why. This man spent 20 minutes today talking to the media. 19 of those minutes, he's talking about trash talking offensive linemen and how inside linebackers constantly have to calm him down from trash talking. He's big ball energy. I absolutely love it. I don't think they're going to go nose tackle round one. However, the interest the Steelers have shown early, day one here, is that those big guys, those dudes in the middle, are important and are on their mind. And I think that I would not be surprised if they jump the board, depending on how things shake out. And the Steelers are a team that go after an interior defensive lineman much earlier than expected. Maybe first round, certainly. Do you think that you've moved them up? Because again, that's one of the preconceived notions that you came in here with.
Mhm.
Defensive tackler, wide receiver, round one. That's kind of what it felt like it was going to be. Does it change? Does it move? Does it make you calm in your thinking there, or does it kind of add a sense of urgency to say, "Ooh, maybe my narrative is correct"?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think it does a lot of confirmation
Yeah.
for what I think we've been talking about here, and I think it really illuminates the possibility that this team could move up, like you kind of mentioned. But I think we've mentioned this before. I think the ideal range for this team to be moving up, especially after we talked with some defensive linemen today, is early in the second round, and I think that's
Yes.
going to be the sweet spot for getting these guys that are, maybe 20 to 35 in these overall rankings. They're borderline first round picks, might go in the first couple of picks of the second round. I think the Steelers, with these 12 draft picks that they have to be thinking, man, we have a lot of guys here who could really help us. I don't know. I don't want to just be purely speculating just to speculate, but they have their hands in the cookie jar here with a lot of defensive linemen. I can't take anything else away other than they are seriously interested.
Me too. Me too. I feel the same way. While I don't expect it to be a first round pick, I think it's there. And I'll bring you back to yesterday as well. Omar Khan made it known. You can never have too many interior defensive linemen. You can never be good enough in the trenches. And that could lead to, I think, some surprising things for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I truly, truly do. My other takeaway today is that their interest in inside linebacker is certainly there, and I think widespread to a place where it could go any round,
Mhm.
but it is visible.
Yeah.
It is notable. The Steelers do have interest at inside linebacker, which is a position that I think everybody pushed. PQ's not going anywhere. We learned that yesterday. I still view it as, don't be surprised if the Steelers take an inside linebacker, which maybe says something about Peyton Wilson, maybe says something about PQ, maybe says something about the overall expectations, and truthfully, maybe just says something about how they want to have a third, and they've been yet able to find that third at inside linebacker, but they are certainly interested in the position.
Sure, absolutely they are. I mean, and I think just to dive into that a little bit more, they are interested in finding those depth pieces. I think is what
Yes.
stands out to me. Kyle Lewis was one of the guys I talked to today. He talked about having crossover in his training at the University of Pittsburgh with the
Yes.
Steelers, trying to get interactions with them. You talked to Harold Perkins out of LSU. I talked to Jacob Rodriguez out of Texas Tech. These are guys that have varying projections as to where they are going to go in the NFL draft. And I think there is varying opinions as to when they could be starters, if they ever could be in the
Yes.
NFL. You look at a guy like Jacob Rodriguez, he absolutely screams starter, but he's probably not day one 2026 starter. There's your long-term replacement for a guy like Patrick Queen, maybe not supplanting them just yet. So yeah, I think there's a ton of talented players and a tons of reason for them to be
Yes.
interested in inside linebacker, just like defensive tackle and interior defensive line.
I agree. I agree. Kyle Lewis was awesome. Made it very known he is not playing safety in the NFL. It's just not happening.
Right.
Harold Landry said that his favorite inside linebacker, or Harold Perkins, said that his favorite inside linebacker is PQ. Why? Dog. That's why. Dog. All right. That's all.
LSU boys
That's
too.
all you need. That's all you needed was a little dog in you. That's day one here at the NFL Combine. Let's talk about the news that is coming for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's start with the absolute insanity that Jordan Schultz dropped today. For those of you who missed it, okay, Pittsburgh Steelers, who we talked yesterday, expect Aaron Rodgers to come back. That is still going to happen. Will Howard was a name that was mentioned numerous times about the guy who could be the guy. Malik Willis is the top name on the free agency market. He is the top name that everybody has their eyes on, and he's going to get the bag. Jordan Schultz expects him to have a starting price of $30 million a year for the Green Bay Packers quarterback. I will lay it out very simply with this question to start this. Are the Steelers involved at all in a $30 million quarterback, no matter what happens with their quarterback room this offseason?
Listen, I know Omar Khan made it a point to say to us and his general podium availability yesterday that there is significant flexibility with the salary cap, which you can take to mean that they are going to be active in spending money, free agency extensions, all that. What that does not mean, and what that still does not mean or indicate for the Pittsburgh Steelers, is that they are going to spend $30 million per season on a stopgap quarterback with less than 10 career NFL starts. If they were ever interested in Malik Willis, and I think they were at some point, I think they've kicked tires. They've talked about the possibility. 26 years old, turning 27. The
Yes.
talent's there. There's this unknown sort of factor to it all where maybe it'll hit and it's like the next Sam Darnold or something like that.
Yes.
More than likely, it's not going to happen. And with so many holes to fill, cornerback, safety, depth at linebacker, defensive line, left guard, wide receiver, too, there is zero chance, in my opinion, that they are going to be in on this player at all anymore. Again, maybe they were for a time, but that time has surely passed. And it passed the second you asked for $30 million per year.
Dude, it's absolutely ridiculous. First off, shout out Malik Willis. Go get the bag. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I'm always pro player. Go get the bag. If the Steelers even made a phone call for Malik Willis, I think everybody should riot. I just don't understand in any way where that works, where you give yourself fully, commit yourself to a quarterback who had one decent season as a backup,
quarter of a season at that.
3 games. And again, go get the bag. And I hope he turns into something great. The Steelers have so many other options. So many other options. Let me run through a list here with you. Okay, let's go through it. Love a good list. Quarterbacks, and you tell me if you would take Malik Willis for $30 million. We'll lowball it, $30 million bucks.
Okay.
Or you would take this quarterback in the situation that I lay out for you.
Okay.
Ty Simpson, pick 21.
Ty Simpson.
Same. Cade Klubnik, round 3, first pick.
Oh, shout out to you for getting the pronunciation of the last name correct for once.
Learned that one today. Shout out our boy Austin Brooks.
I guess I would take Cade Klubnik because you just have zero risk and zero, what's the right word? Zero sort of anticipation of him growing. So it's fine.
Okay. I like that one. Mac Jones, you give up a 3rd round pick.
Oh my gosh. I mean, truthfully, I'd rather die than give up a 3rd round pick for Mac Jones, if I'm being perfectly honest. But I still think he has more starting quarterback potential and upside than Malik Willis does, probably, period. And especially at that price point that we're talking about. So I got to take Return of the Mac, I guess.
I love it. Last one I got here for you. And I just tossed this one to you as we were walking out of the thing today. Will Levis. I don't even care what you give up for him.
There's give me 30 million on Malik, please. Give me the 2 by 60 at that point.
2 by 60.
You tell me Will Levis is a starting quarterback. I tell you need help.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
I appreciate the question.
Aaron Rodgers for 3 more years. You have to commit for 3 years.
Oh, he's gonna show up every
June 6th every year. But you gotta wait. You gotta wait.
God.
You gotta
give me. I'll take Malik. No, you no doubt.
We
no
gotta
doubt.
go through this. You have no idea. You know what I mean? We have to ask Omar
And with
every
his
year.
oh my gosh, yeah, Malik for sure. I can't do this. I cannot do this again. I said I didn't want to do it twice. I'm already doing it a second time.
Okay.
I'm not doing this a 3rd, 4th, and 5th time. Absolutely not. Give me Malik Willis. You know what? I changed my mind. He's worth every penny. He's
I don't disagree. I think 30 million. And again, like, I hope Malik gets it, and I hope he gets paid, and I think somebody's going to pay him, and I hope he plays really well. But for the Steelers, at least, it makes absolutely no sense
zero
to invest $30 million into a quarterback when you've made it so clear that you need to find your franchise quarterback, and paying somebody $30 million to attempt to find that quarterback makes negative sense in the long run. Absolutely negative sense. Let's talk wide receiver here at the NFL Combine. Jordan Tyson, Arizona State star, not going to compete here at the Combine. Hear me out on this one, okay? I view this as a huge positive for the Steelers. And that's because there will be teams who are skeptical about this. There will be teams who look at a Jordan Tyson and say, okay, not the healthiest, really good wide receiver class. Maybe Mekhi Lemon jumps him. Maybe Carnell Tate becomes the, without question, wide receiver one in this draft. Maybe Denzel Boston starts to gain enough traction to where he becomes a guy that you're talking about. I think either way in the long run, this works for the Steelers because it does one of two things. It either pushes Jordan Tyson down the board where they have an opportunity to move up and go get him. I think it's crazy if he falls to 21, but you never know what's going to happen. Or second, you're looking at it going, if Jordan Tyson falls or doesn't fall or whatever, it pushes everybody else back along with him as you're sitting here. I think Jordan Tyson not competing, while giant news, is a positive and could work out really well for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's nothing but positive for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, listen, this is, I guess, a growing trend for whatever reason, where there are wide receivers that reach this place where they are just like too good in college, and because there isn't anything left, like let's just call Jordan Tyson what he is. He's a star.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have any doubts about that. And I think, sure, have your concerns about durability and injury history or whatever, but like, you are overthinking it if you believe that there is another wide receiver in the first round who will be better at the NFL level. I think bar none is going to be Jordan Tyson. That being said, if this gives teams pause, if this makes them think twice about taking him, great. You know what I mean? The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to benefit from this. And again, there's no way to sort of lose out on it. There was a time a few years ago where the most talented wide receiver, a guy named Justin Jefferson, went what number overall? 19?
19.
So, crazy things happen here. And there is this sort of like blindness to wide receivers who are so polished in the NCAA level, where there's just this thought that maybe they can't get any better, but maybe it just means they are already ready to be great. And I think that is the case here with Jordan Tyson. He's going to be one of those guys who is just a superstar in the next couple of years, and everyone's saying, why did we pass on him? What was the reason we did that? And it was just because people overthought it. So if it helps the Steelers land him at 21, great. Thanks for the sitting out this week, Jordan.
How high would you move up to get him? Where would you start making phone calls?
Honestly, after 15, and I think we've had this conversation a lot about wide receivers and trading up for them in the first round. I think I tend to agree with you in terms of, like, I don't want to see my team do that. I wouldn't do that if I were the GM, but I think if you get to pick 16 and he's still there, you're thinking, would you give up one of your extra third round picks to take him at 16? I think I would. You may disagree, others may disagree, but I think that, 16 to 20, if you can move up a spot or two to get him, you're doing great, because again, you're getting a game-changing player. You're not getting a running mate next to DK Metcalf. You're getting the guy who supplants DK Metcalf.
Yes.
So I'm cool with it.
No, I agree. I feel the same way. I think I'd start making phone calls at 15, and I feel pretty good. Where would you start making phone calls for a Carnell Tate?
Now, see, this is one of those things where I love Carnell Tate.
Me too.
And if I'm being perfectly honest, I do think Jordan Tyson is going to be the more productive NFL wide receiver.
Wow.
And I think I said this before, and forgive me if I'm saying something new here, but between those 4 first-round guys, I think you look at Jordan Tyson, and he feels like the slam dunk guy who we're looking at in 5 to 7 years and saying, here's a guy who was a 1,000-yard receiver multiple times, Pro Bowler, double-digit touchdowns, 100 receptions. I think this is a high-volume number 1 wide receiver. So in the same vein that I would trade up for Jordan Tyson, I think I would do the same thing for Carnell Tate. It's 15 and on. I don't want to move into the top 10 to get him. I wouldn't want to move into the top 10 to get Jordan Tyson either, for that matter. But I would certainly and happily move up to 16, 17, whatever, to get that player.
Okay.
Do you disagree?
No, Carnell Tate, I'd probably. I think Carnell. I have Carnell higher on my board than Jordan.
Okay, which is fair. I don't think that's like a crazy thing at all by any means.
And I think I'd start making phone calls at 12. I think I'd pick 12 as the number
Whoa.
to start saying, okay, what does it cost? I think 12 and 15 is not that big of a change.
Mhm.
I think if you're moving up to 15, you're giving up more than a third. It's a third and something. It's maybe even a second. Um, I think 12 is not much more in the long run to give up. And I'd start making phone calls to see when it could happen. Now, would they? We'll see what happens. But I do think that wide receiver is very high on this team's list, and a position that I would not be surprised if they made a move for at the
Wow.
NFL draft. Definitely would not.
You think it's more likely something like that than a double dipping situation we've talked so much about?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Because I think
I
I'm
don't know
very
about
firm on.
more likely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that there's a real strong possibility they're going to double dip.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think that there's a possibility they're going to move up in the first round for a guy that they like.
They really like.
Yeah, especially if guys come off the board early. Um, and I would not be surprised if both happened. Truthfully,
Wow.
yeah, I could see it
Wow.
happening. I could see it happening.
That's big stuff.
We'll see.
It's day 2 of the combine, but
We'll see.
It's
We'll
big
see what
stuff.
happens. Let's talk about something that we missed yesterday.
Yes.
Omar Khan talked about a bunch of stuff. We addressed pretty much everything. The one thing that we did leave out of this, left guard. Asked about Isaac Seumalo. You want to know the name that he mentioned? Spencer Anderson, saying that he's grown every year since he's shown up, that he's a guy that they really like. Again, I'll get real straightforward with my question here. Are we overlooking Spencer Anderson as the guy who might start for the Steelers at left guard in 2026?
Yes.
Yeah,
The
I think
answer
so, too.
is as simple as the question, and it's yes. I think we were very quick to, in a very similar way that we were talking about the middle linebacking situation, is almost written off that there would be changes, salary cap casualties.
Yep.
There was the same assumption when it came to the left guard position that they were moving on from Isaac Seumalo, yes, but then they were either going to in turn spend some of that $45 million in salary cap space on a big ticket free agent, a veteran like a David Edwards of the Buffalo Bills or something like that, or they were going to see if they could maybe move up a couple of picks to get a top rated guard in the first round to solve that issue. Again, you take what Omar Khan's words were to us, and he was specific, but not in a guarded way. It just seemed like he had very specifically important points to make to him.
Yes.
And again, as soon as he was asked about Isaac Seumalo and the situation at left guard, we were very quick to hear just how important Spencer Anderson is to this team moving forward. So they have valued his versatility, his ability to be a swing tackle, play all along the offensive line for several seasons now. That is well understood. Can he now step in and take that next step to being the left guard? I don't know if I think so, but I think the Steelers do.
I think the Steelers do too.
Mhm.
I think the Steelers do too. I'll make a statement here that maybe I wouldn't have made 4 days ago, is that I think Spencer Anderson's the favorite to be the starting left guard this season. I think especially if no matter what happens with Broderick Jones, because I think that's a big question mark right now of whether or not Broderick Jones is going to be healthy, whether or not he's going to play, a lot of questions. No matter what happens with Broderick Jones, I think the Steelers are going to bring in a left tackle of some caliber. I don't think Dylan Cook is like their backup plan. Certainly did not sound like Dylan Cook was a backup plan. Dylan Cook, good guy, played well in a small capacity last year. That's all Omar Khan had to say. I think they bring in a left tackle. I think if Broderick is healthy, he's a swing guard or he's a swing tackle. And I think that if he's not, Dylan Cook is a swing tackle. I think either way, that's your jumbo guy. And you are looking now at Spencer Anderson as your starter at left guard. And it would not surprise me at all if the Steelers completely avoid that position and just go with Spencer and then draft somebody in the middle rounds to either compete with him in the future and or just be the next Spencer Anderson.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's not so simple, or sometimes it is that simple. Excuse me.
Yeah.
You don't have to overthink it either. Like Spencer Anderson certainly fits the mold of that Pittsburgh Steelers type where he's been with the organization, filled multiple roles, worked his way up.
For sure.
Now he's getting that chance. And let's be honest, when he was on the field, the jumbo package, that heavy personnel set was where it was the bread and butter of that Arthur Smith offense that we all loved so much. But it was at times the only way they were able to move the ball downfield. And Spencer Anderson was a huge part of that. So he has earned more opportunity. can he make the most out of it? Again, I'm on the fence about whether I'm a full believer in Spencer Anderson or not, but
Agreed.
doesn't matter because the Steelers feel differently.
The Steelers love him, at least as a player. And don't get me wrong, I do too. Like, I think Spencer Anderson, at bare minimum, is an NFL contributor to an offensive line. How the Steelers utilize him, I think it's going to be significantly more than what we think. And I think we are overlooking the easy option here to replace Isaac Seumalo, and that is Spencer Anderson. We'll see what happens. All right, y'all. That's everything on our agenda today. We're going to take a quick break here in Indianapolis. When we come back, we're going to start answering all your questions. So toss them in the chat. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
Pittsburgh, this one's for you. From the voices behind all Steelers talk comes black and gold apparel, your go-to for bold, fan-driven merch that reps the city, the Steelers, and everything in between. Whether you bleed black and gold or just love that Pittsburgh grit, we've got something for you. It's more than a podcast. It's a community. And thanks to your support, we're proud to bring the passion from our mics to your closets. Gear up, stand out, and show the world what real fans look like. Shop now at blackandgoldapparel.myshopify.com.
Alrighty. Shout out to our members. Shout out to our super chatters. Can't thank you guys enough. Before we get going here, hit that like and subscribe button. We are quickly making our way to 75K as we sit here in I think second last week of nothing here in football. We are 14 days away from joy and chaos and excitement. And I can't think of anything else that gets my juices flowing a little bit more than NFL action going on in any capacity. And we're close, guys. We're close. Toss questions in the chat. We'll get to as many of them as we can before we head out of here. We're going to get things kicking here with Nate Moore. Jacob, how many steps we got so far today?
Dude,
not a lot.
Not a lot. I was actually telling Noah on our walk back to set up here, I was like, we are under right now.
Yeah,
because we were hitting like 12K yesterday, and we had to walk over the entire city of Indianapolis to find Omar Khan. It was like a scavenger hunt just to get in the session with him. And I think we are under, we're at about 8K right now. Not good enough, support your health, everybody. Get those 10K steps in.
Yeah, for sure. I've had heartburn for 3 days now, so I definitely need to walk more. Shout out to those guys for sure. Nate's got an actual question here. If the plan is defensive tackle in the first, what are the best realistic wide receiver options in the second? Hopefully Cooper Jr. or Surratt are still there. I like them over Boston, actually. I'll tell you that Cooper seems to be a rising name here at the NFL Combine.
Yeah, popular name.
I think how he tests is going to do a lot for his draft stock. I don't know how well it tests. We'll see what happens there. You wrote a story on this a couple weeks ago, actually, about second-round wide receiver options for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
There's a good bit.
Yeah. What were you thinking? What's thoughts?
Well, I think you can just look at the second round and the third round overall. Our boy Nate mentioned somebody that I am quite a fan of, and that's an Elijah Surratt, national championship winner with IU. He just feels polished to me. He feels like somebody who you aren't going to worry too hard or too much about the technical parts. You're going to quickly see the rapport he can build with whatever quarterback he's working with. He feels like a security blanket type of wide receiver. You can never have too many of those guys. You go down the list. Can I throw a name out that's just like not second round either, but I've just been kind of liking, and I'm curious to see how he tests.
Yeah.
This is just like this is like a 4th, 5th round pick I'm throwing at you.
Okay.
Ready? Eric McAllister from TCU.
I love that name. I love that name.
He's got the size. He's got some productivity during his time with the Horned Frogs. But overall, I think it's a player who, there's going to be a lot of hidden gems in terms of finding, your number 2, number 3 wide receiver here. But that's a name that I'm very curious to see how he tests and see if there's any increased sort of interest because of it.
Yeah, I agree. I like that name. I think a second round receiver, if they go first round defensive tackle, is almost guaranteed. They're not gonna hold off on this. I will also say this though. I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers added before the NFL draft at the wide receiver position, which opens the door for them to make weird moves and do different things and adjust on the fly to what their actual big board is going to look like. I don't know if it's all as simple as it'll be DK and Roman and Ben Skoranek, and you got to go add somebody else. I think there's a chance that they have pieces in place already, and they just need to add a third or something in the second round or the third round or something like that.
I'll throw on one more hopeful second round option that the Steelers, I think, would be elated to see a player drop to, and that's KC Concepcion out of Texas A&M.
For sure.
I think they love this player. I think he fits the mold of that, like, slightly undersized, incredibly shifty, agile, athletic wide receiver who's dynamic in space. You know, I think he is a very strong bet to be a top 32 pick realistically, but man, that's one of those players that he falls into 35, 40. I think the Steelers are calling whoever they can to move up and grab him because I think they see him as a legitimate starter.
Me too. I agree. Maddie, so are you saying, Noah and Jacob, that wide receiver is still priority number one? I do think that wide receiver is still priority number one in the draft for the Steelers. I think that defensive tackle has an interest, and every day we're going to learn the interest level of different positions. Tomorrow, I think, is a big one with defensive backs. I still think wide receiver, when this thing's all said and done, we're going to go into Friday. We're going to pop on this show, and everybody make sure you're on that show because it's the biggest one of them all. And we are going to acknowledge that the Steelers talk to probably every single wide receiver at the NFL Combine.
Absolutely. And I think maybe things are becoming a 1A, a 1B situation, right? But 1A still is wide receiver.
Yes.
I think 1B is D tackle. 1C is defensive back, is that huge umbrella term.
1C is quarterback, my friend.
We'll agree to disagree on that one, but you have a point.
1C is quarterback. Ryan, if a team doesn't meet with the player, does that mean that they're not interested at all? Also curious on how the combine meetings work, if y'all know. So teams can meet formally or informally. I'm not totally sure the difference between the two. I think one allows you the space to conduct it with all of your scouts and whoever's in the room. Informal could be different, but you have a select number of formal interviews, however many informal interviews you want to conduct here. And if a team doesn't meet with you, no, it does not mean anything. We go run through a couple of them. Kenny Pickett, Juju Smith-Schuster are the biggest ones. Steelers they showed no interest in either of them throughout the entire draft process, and still ended up drafting them. It happens. From here, you'll go top 30 visits. If guys met with the Steelers at the Senior Bowl, at the East-West Shrine Bowl, maybe they won't meet with the Steelers here at the NFL Combine. If they plan to bring them in for a top 30 visit, maybe they won't meet with them at the NFL Combine. Right. There are a lot of steps. This is more so to get a base general interest of where their attention is. It's not necessarily the player. You know, everybody loves to write the like Steelers met with this guy, Steelers met with this guy, Steelers met with this guy stories. At the end of the day, it is more so about what positions and where those prospects lie. You know, are the Steelers only meeting with first round defensive tackles, or are they meeting with everybody? Are the Steelers only meeting with first round wide receivers, or are they meeting with everybody? Where does that interest lie? And then when it comes to players and specifics, there's such a long process ahead of us that they will most likely meet with so many guys by the time it's all over that this shows some indication, but doesn't tell you who and who not they are 100% interested in.
Yes, right. Yeah, they're all pieces of the puzzle, but they never show you the entire thing, right? Like the Steelers could have come to Indianapolis, met only with defensive tackles who have first round grades. And I still wouldn't say that means they are 100% definitively going to take a defensive tackle in round one. The reality is they might not have a top 30 visit with the player they select in the first round. They might largely ignore that player because they don't need to do any further due diligence to already know that they are going to pick that player at 21 if he's available. You learn some things. And one other thing I wanted to add is the sense I got talking to some players today is that informal meetings seem to be as informal as just like getting introduced to a head coach, saying hi to a general manager. Like it is
Agreed.
Very, literal in how they go about doing it. But yeah, all that to say, there are lots of pieces of this puzzle here, but the entire thing does not come together, until draft night.
Yes, I very much so agree. Yogi Bear,
Nice.
Would you draft a left tackle in the middle rounds or try to get one from free agency? I'd be going free agency if I'm the Steelers.
Yeah, I genuinely am not very familiar with mid-round tackles that I would be willing
No.
to take a chance on. But I am super willing to take a chance on a player like Rasheed Walker, who we've talked about a
Yeah,
lot here
for
in
sure.
free agency. I'd be willing
For
to
sure.
pony up a nice contract for a player like that to solidify the left side of the line.
Yeah,
So I don't think I see a mid-round tackle.
no, I don't necessarily either. And I honestly think yesterday Omar's comments on Dylan Cook and Broderick Jones to me told me the Steelers need to do something big at left tackle, and they probably plan to do something big at left tackle, whether that's a Rasheed Walker, whether that's a second or a third round pick, I don't know. But I do think that the Steelers will make a splash at the position. They are not going to ignore it. And I don't think that they're going to wait to draft that position either. Truthfully, I expect something to come from Pittsburgh in the left tackle position. I think that's going to be a very overlooked, exciting position for this team.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, I think there are, we've talked so much in intensely about all of these positions that the Steelers are scrutinizing and going over with a fine-tooth comb, but maybe they're just doing that whole sort of smokescreen because they had their left tackle of the future in mind, right? Like, would anyone be surprised if, what is it, April? What's the first? When's round one of the draft? April
23rd.
23rd. We're recapping it. We're talking about it, and we're like, they took a left tackle from Georgia in the first round. You know what I mean? Like, no one will be surprised or shocked, and you shouldn't be. Or if you are, you haven't been paying attention long enough.
I can't toss a comment in here. I don't know why YouTube is telling me that I'm trying to spam my own live stream. We'll see what happens. Toss your questions in the chat. We need a couple more of them as we keep this thing trucking. Let's go to fixing here. Would you sign Trent Williams if he was released by the 49ers?
No.
Yeah, I would. Why would you not?
Because I'm
$1
not,
year $1 billion. Go win a Super Bowl, dude.
Because you're not gonna win a Super Bowl. Like, yes, if that's correct,
Go win a
right?
Super
If
Bowl, dude.
1 + 2 = 3
Go
there,
win a
then
Super Bowl.
yes. If adding Trent Williams to the Steelers equals Super Bowl, yes. But that is far from true, far from even partially true. And listen, Trent Williams, hell of a player.
Fantastic. Best left tackle maybe of all time.
I'm not going to push back on that too much here. This guy's a hoffer. But I think he does nothing to push this team forward in 2026. You're still answering
Nothing?
Nothing.
You don't think that a quality left tackle does nothing to a football team?
I think a quality left tackle improves this football team. I don't think adding.
You don't think Trent Williams is a quality left tackle?
Not anymore. I'm not doing that.
Are you kidding me?
Throw some sevens in the chat if you disagree with me.
Let's see. Trent Williams.
Is he better than Broderick Jones? Fuck yeah.
He's a billion times better.
That deserved an F word.
He was a second team All Pro last year.
Was he?
What are you talking about?
I'm so sick and tired of the veteran stopgaps on this team. There is no way forward with this organization where you plug and patch these holes with guys who are on the tail ends of their careers and tell me this is actually a path to winning, right?
I agree.
Like, that's why I push back so hard. Not because Trent Williams is a bad player, not because Trent Williams isn't deserving of being a starting left tackle even at this point of his career, but for the same reason that I'm like, why would you bring back a 42-year-old quarterback and expect that team to win? Why would you bring in 36-year-old?
No, I think he's 40.
87-year-old Trent Williams.
37.
37-year-old Trent Williams. I was off by 50.
That's too old.
And think that you were actually going to improve this team or win. I can't.
This man spent 9 years in Washington and is getting dangerously close to spending the same amount of time in San Francisco.
That's awesome.
He's fantastic. He would make the Steelers better.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Let's make sure that everyone has the information correct here that y'all Steelers talk is espousing. And I speak for both of us when I say this. Trent Williams is great. Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Would make the Steelers better in 2026 a little bit.
Yeah.
It would do nothing in terms of helping this team win a Super Bowl.
Oh, I'd push back on that too, but you know what?
Don't make me walk off.
I just think a left tackle would. Again, I wouldn't sign him. No, the answer would be no. I wouldn't sign him. I like. I just think that any team who you could start at a base level 0, you give them a good left tackle. I'm like, well, they just got closer to a Super Bowl every time.
I think
it's a left tackle. It's a left tackle.
In a lot
How many times did Aaron Rodgers get sacked last year because Broderick Jones wasn't good?
But they
Or
were one
because
of the least
Andrews
pressured
Pete
teams.
was his left tackle.
You know what?
Dylan Cook, my friend, man played quarterback.
Dude, I think they were like 8th in pressures allowed last year. So it wasn't that much. The offensive line was not the reason why this team could not score.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean? And that again, so you already have 3 really good offensive linemen. You had another one in Isaac Seumalo last year.
Yeah.
Didn't allow a ton of pressures. Yeah, they allowed some sacks sometimes, but that's because Aaron Rodgers' legs don't even work anymore. So he couldn't even get out of the pocket. So I think that was a lot to do with that. In a nutshell, a left tackle that's good makes a team better. Yes.
Yeah.
A team that already has a decent offensive line and still can't win. I disagree with that.
All right.
You know?
All right.
You know?
All right. Fixin's got another one here. Is Jack still lost in the snow? You need a sled team to get him to Indy. He arrived today. He is at the Airbnb. Couldn't get his credential yet, so he's coming tomorrow. But we did tell him that he's got to be on here tomorrow. We've also talked to so many podcast people today. Shout out to everybody that we talked to that we have come to the conclusion that my wife is and if you're watching this, babe, love you. That my wife is going to have to accept that a room in my house will be turned into a podcast studio. That is that is going to happen because that's just, you know what I mean? We need a chair made out of beer. You know what I mean?
We need a chair made out of beer.
We
Guys,
do. That needs
help
to
our
happen.
dreams come true. Help us make our dreams come true.
That's what I'm saying. Let's say Nate Moore with what might be our last question because we don't have any other questions here. What's the furthest Downs could slide in the draft, and is there any chance we trade up for him? I think there's certainly a chance they'd trade up for him,
regardless of the slide.
Yeah. But I think he gets to. I would give it the Carnell Tate Tyson rule. If he gets 12, why would you? You're making phone calls. Yeah, you're making all the phone calls.
I think once you see pick 8, if he's not off the board, I'm calling 9, 10, 11, 12, right? And I'm just having this conversation like, who are you looking at? You know, like what's going on with this? Because again, much like in this, like, don't overthink it. You know, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Take the best player you can. Caleb Downs is going to be unreal at the NFL level.
Yes.
If the Steelers could get him, you have to go and try to get him. I would genuinely move that is probably the one player I'd move into the top 10 to get, just because I think he is going to be that good of a player.
Yes, I agree that he would be the only player I'd move into the top 10 to get, outside of Fernando Mendoza, because you know, if for whatever reason he fell to 6, go get your franchise quarterback. You know what I mean? Just who cares? And Caleb Downs would be the guy, and I would, again, I agree. Like, I think that once he hits 10, okay, I'm calling every team in front of me to see what it would cost to get up, you know, and where do I go? And as soon as you get a deal done, boom, and you're just trying to get up there to get him. I don't know if he's going to fall, but
I think you genuinely have to go at 9 because you can't let Kansas City take him.
No, that'd be terrifying.
You know, and
but
I
don't know if they. I mean, maybe they would. I don't know.
There's no they probably have a need because they're losing some defensive backs in free agency and stuff like that. But there's just something about like when a player that good goes to a franchise that can do something special like that, you're like, oh God, they're gonna be so good with a player like him. So you don't let him get to 9, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree. I would trade. What would that cost?
So much,
right? You're giving up first, second, and more. Maybe 2 firsts.
You're giving up.
I'm gonna take that back. You're definitely giving up 2 firsts.
You're giving up your first and 27 for sure.
Yeah.
In addition to pick 21, so it's 21, 2027 first round pick. Probably pick 53, and maybe something else.
Yeah.
And maybe they swap a pick in the later rounds coming back.
Alex Highsmith.
Yep.
Toss him out there.
Yep.
Just toss him. Let's just be realistic. What did you ask 7 for? What did you ask for the number 7 for?
They disagree with something I said.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Trent
Chat, let
Williams.
us know. Throw a 7 in the chat.
I think the chat's freaking out, to be honest with you. I think the chat's having some. I think YouTube's being weird today. I think YouTube's being weird. And if it's the case, I apologize, guys, because truthfully, I don't like when YouTube messes with our stuff. You know what I'm saying?
We don't like it.
But everybody's saying 7. Everybody's saying 7, dude. So whatever it was, you were.
I love just saying.
You were right.
Chat.
You were right, dude. Tossing all the 7s. We appreciate you guys for sure. We appreciate you guys for sure. All right. As I ask for more questions for the final time, what are you looking forward to tomorrow? Defensive backs here at the NFL Combine.
I mean, it's the same overall sort of thought here that we've had with defensive linemen coming into day 2 here. Whereas, who are the Steelers interested in overall? Is it players who are expected to go in the mid rounds, or are they really chatting with some players who are going to go in the first round? And there are plenty of first round corners that are going to be available. I don't know. I mean, there's so many talented players in number 2 cornerbacks that you could pair with Joey Porter Jr. We talked about our buddy brought up Jermon McCoy as being overlooked. We've talked about Avian Terrell. We've talked about tons of players that could be there. But I'm interested to hear from a D'Angelo Pons from Indiana, like those second round guys. Are they in contact with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Because that's going to tell me sort of how aggressive I expect this team to be in free agency.
I agree. I think that's a really good point. My outlook on tomorrow is more safety than corner. You know what I mean? And truthfully, it has nothing to do with whether or not they're going to draft one. It has everything to do with whether or not Jalen's going to play safety or corner. Because I got to know, and I think we're gonna get that understanding with who they're talking to and how focused they are on a certain position. If they are super focused on the safety or super focused on corner, I think that tells you that Jalen is playing the opposite,
right?
And I just want to know. I want to know. Chef Sal's got one for us here. Do you think they would trade down in the first to get picks for next year, then trade up in the second and trade back in to the second? It's a lot going on there.
I think they could trade down. Omar did say something about how he likes getting picks for the next draft.
Yes, he was open to it. Very open.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. But if they do move down in round 1, I think I'm just kind of building, and maybe I'm making this case in my mind without proper evidence, but I really am coming to this conclusion that I think they're going to move up in the second round. And I think they'll, pick 21. I don't think there will be 31 picks that pass or 32 picks that pass until they pick again. I think they're going to be in picks 35 to 40.
35 to 40.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think that's, again, you get, maybe you take that defense, you take that wide receiver in round 1, but then you need that defensive tackle. There's those guys who are still available. A Lee Hunter, a Caden McDonald drops a little bit. Then what do you got to do? You have to move back up, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. I think they are going to move into the second. I don't disagree with you. I don't think that it's likely that they trade back. I think they're going to be looking for talent, and I don't think they're going to ignore it. But I do think it's a strong possibility, and I'll actually go the other way here. I think it's a possibility that the Steelers trade some of those third round picks for second round picks or somewhere in that ballpark in 2027 compared to using them to move up into the second this year.
Whoa. That would be a bold strategy, Cotton. See if it pays off. That's what I would think about that.
I will see what happens. We'll see what happens. All right, y'all. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk live from Indianapolis here at the 2026 NFL Combine. Before you head out of here, hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure to find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. And anywhere you get your podcast, look for all our work this week at si.com/NFL/Steelers. And we'll be back tomorrow. Until then, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.